Hello, good evening everyone, welcome back to RLH, and apologies we're a little late to the party. As you can see, just over 11.5 minutes remaining of this qualifying session, and we are in Portugal at the Portimao circuit, new for this season's game of course. And as you can see, we've got a lot of drivers, all but Micken at the moment, have already set their first lap time, as we've got back at looks like he's done a couple of laps on this set, so we'll try and pick up whether he is going to complete the lap or if he peels off into the pit lane. He is indeed going to complete the lap up over the brow of the hill and stays where he is so far, maybe just trying to get his eye in on a sort of higher fuel early run. So we'll go on board with him and get to know this new circuit added for 2020 of course, in the middle of the pandemic, and maintained for the 2021 season. We finally get to see some action on it. It's been a while waiting in the wings, but it's here and it's bright and sunny, at least for qualifying. So yes, second half of the season, we've been away for a week, and yeah, 7 races, plenty of storylines to be closed out, plenty of rivalries to develop, and yeah, a couple of titles to be handed out as well come the end of the season. Speaking of titles, we're on board with your current championship leader. Back after the first 7 races, sits on a healthy 148 points. Giraffe is actually equal second place with Ricca, who they're both here tonight and are currently sitting 3rd and 4th. They are both on 112 points for Aston Martin and Mercedes respectively. No wins for either of them though. Giraffe has been very consistently picking up the points. He's had a single podium finish this season, and Ricca 3 podiums, yet to find his way to the top step, but certainly always one that's right up there at the front in terms of pace anyway. And then you've got MRPK, who's had a podium for Red Bull this season, sits 4th at the moment. He also sits on the outside of the front row in P2 on the provisional qualifying order. Yeah, he's been involved in a few incidents this year, tends to be right up the front, but yeah, hasn't fully maximised his points haul. Nicker, as ever, just keeping ticking over, and he's got 96 points, putting him in the top 5, just ahead of Christian Hasser. And then you've got the likes of the Butcher, Liam and Fleddy, who is yeah, making quite the impact since he's joined in here. I think he's had a win and a second in 2 races so far, puts him right up there in P9 in the championship, and one to watch I'm sure. And where is he at the moment? Currently sits P6 on the medium tyre, but he's on an outlap. He's at the end of his outlap on the soft tyre, so we'll stick with him as he comes through this incredible final corner, downhill and then uphill onto the main straight, DRS open, and heading down towards a very high speed, very short apex turn 1. He's looking for that inside curb. Picks it up nicely, and then a tricky braking zone, and he's just gone a little bit deep. That'll tighten up the left just a little bit, and once again you're going over the brow of the hill. The rear gets loose as you come over the top of it, but first sector time now, and he's 3/10 up on his personal best time. As you'd expect, these soft tyres giving good pace, and he is now well into the second sector. Another couple of right-handers coming, using all of the track on the entry, just about missed the apex on the inside there again. So yeah, a little bit of time left on the table, but he's still very much improving, as we've seen with that first sector time, flat out through the left, and now another sort of, oh, a big slide. I was just about to say, it's a few corners on this circuit that are sort of reminiscent of, I think, turn 14 at Malaysia, where you're sort of turning in and scrubbing the speed off at the same time, and it all tightens up right at the very end. But once again, coming through the penultimate corner, final corner, he's absolutely flat as you come over the brow of this hill, just about sticking to the curb, and he's sticking to the shortest line across the timing beam he goes, and it's only P5 at the end of that, so we did see a big moment, so there's time to come from that Ferrari, I'm sure. Number 46, do wonder if he's maybe a bit of a Rossi fan in that Ferrari, as Crankybot is returning to the pits. Who have we got? We've got the entity, so it's the other Aston of Giraffe coming around. He also pits, just under 7 minutes remaining. We've got a car starting a lap. It's not Ben, so it must be Micken. we will stick with him as he comes through into turn 1. Picks up the apex of turn 1 very nicely indeed. All looked super neat and tidy. And gets it hooked up nicely into 3 as well. A little bit squirrely on the throttle. And never quite picked up the inside of 4. But first timing beam coming up. And he's just under a tenth ahead of where he's been so far. MRPK though goes to the top of the pile on a 16.7. And just while you enjoy the middle part of this lap with Micken, we will try and catch up with a couple of the comments. So we've got Shaq supporting Backer and Malty, and we've got some Red Bull support from Liam as well. And not here this evening unfortunately for him. So yeah, is he usually in the AlphaTauri, I seem to think. He is indeed, yes. Currently sitting P8 in the championship, and I'm not entirely sure where AlphaTauri are in the constructors. They usually find themselves up the sharp end no matter what tier we're talking about. But yeah, currently sit P3 on 173 points. Red Bull leading the pile on 198 with Alpine just between them on 183. So yeah, definitely some battles to be had there, and then there's a bit of a gap to Aston, Ferrari and McLaren, who are fighting among 4th, 5th and 6th positions. But yeah, as we've said, only just halfway through the season. Plenty can change between now and I want to say Brazil. There is a little bit of a question around the sort of latter part of the calendar. It's very much fixed for the next couple of races. We've got Portugal here, of course, this week, and then it will be Hungary, Belgium and Italy is expected to be Imola. Obviously that depends on the news of, I believe, this week, next week maybe. We will finally get the Imola circuit. So yeah, that's the expectation there. And then at the moment it's penciled in as Japan, Brazil and Saudi Arabia. Depending on when the Jeddah update releases, that may well be swapped around to give us a Brazil finale, which has become a little bit of a classic in RLH, just as it did in F1, of course, whilst it hosted the final races of the season several times in the sort of late 2000s, before Abu Dhabi sort of took over proceedings. And at the moment, we've got most of the cars in the pits, with just over 4 minutes remaining. They're preparing for their final runs. The Entity, though, is on a lap, and he's got some nice, clear track to be doing it in. And he's about to step to the second sector time. We'll see what he's got. He's just over a quarter of a second up on his time so far, which will gain him at least a position. Maybe puts him in the range of Crankybot. We'll see how he can manage to get through the final couple of corners and see whether he can crack that top 10. Any sort of improvement should put him ahead of Christian Hasser. For now, the Red Bull driver, I'm sure, will be out there once again to try and improve himself, but the Entity does go, yeah, just under a quarter of a second quicker, stays, well, goes P10, doesn't quite topple Crankybot for that P9. And who have we got? I think that's Ben starting a lap, so we'll go on board with the Haas driver. And once again, let's have a look at how he's negotiating this new Portimao circuit. So we've got some yellow flags. I think that's just drivers on their outlaps getting track position. But yeah, this is, well, this and C3, which is running simultaneously, is the first RLH race on this Portimao circuit, of course. And what an event it promises to be. 16 drivers here this evening. Phil, at the moment, is down the back. He's the only man to have set his best time on the mediums at the moment, so you'd expect to see him out there on a set of softs, and he's indeed he's got the soft set. He's still in the pits at the moment. It's Nicker who's the McLaren on the outlap, but we've got Ben coming around the final couple of corners now. Can he improve to knock MRPK off the top of the pile? Just think that there may be a threat of rain in the race as well, so that's another thing they've got to contend with. Ben again taking that shorter run across the line. We've got some yellow flags as cars coming out of the pits. He does improve, but it's not enough to take provisional pole, and I think with the time remaining and the fuel remaining, that is probably all we're going to see from Ben in the Haas this evening, or certainly in qualifying. We'll see plenty more of him in the race, I hope. And yeah, just take a look at where he's managed to get himself. He currently sits just inside the top 10 in the championship. As who have we got? It's Backer on an outlap behind him, so that shouldn't be an issue. Micken on an outlap as well. Christian Hasse is in the middle part of the lap. He is improving slightly, but we've got MRPK. He's on an outlap actually. Yeah, not a problem. Fleddy is... no, that's Ender. So is he on a lap? He seems to be improving and just about staying within track limits through the penultimate corner. One corner to go, and he pulls off into the pits, so doesn't complete that lap. There's a lot of cars in the middle part of this lap. They're all fighting for track position. I'm pretty sure there's some flying laps being set through there as well, so hopefully everyone's managed to get themselves some space. Christian Hasse is just improving, but it's not going to be enough to get himself any positions as it stands. Multi has invalidated his lap. Does he have the time and fuel to get round? All we can see is a yellow flag for one of the Astons at the moment. The entity is off the track. He should have a chance to rejoin just ahead of one of the Red Bulls, but hopefully that yellow flag will disappear and we can actually see the session timer, because this really isn't helping. Multi coming across the line does continue, so he's going to go into another lap, and we've got one of the McLarens as well. That's Nicker. He's invalidated. Phil actually going across the line to start his lap, so we'll keep an eye on him. I would love to have a session timer, please. Why have we got this pointless yellow flag? Fleddy is, I think, starting a lap, and just as we get rid of the yellow flags, we've got them again. Yeah, amazing. Fleddy is improving, and he's gone a tenth and a bit quicker. That could actually gain him quite a few places on the grid. If he can maintain that sort of improvement for the rest of the lap, he could be looking at getting himself into the 16s, maybe a spot on the first two rows of the grid. Aston pitting, so that's not going to be an issue. That's Christian Hasse then, so we'll try and pick them up in track position order as they come across the line for what I think is the end of qualifying. I'm pretty sure we've now got to the end of the timer. Christian Hasse runs wide, invalidates the lap. Multi is also invalidated. Backer is coming through the final corner. Doesn't look like he's improving. Does he complete the lap? He does. Can he gain anything through this final sector? He does, just at the death. Puts himself ahead of Crankybot. Multi is next across the line. We've already seen him invalidate. I think it's going to be Phil with, at the moment, an 8/10th improvement. Where can he put himself? His first representative lap goes P12. We've seen another improvement in there. That was Fleddy. We just missed it behind Phil. Fleddy goes pole. 16.7, just faster than MRPK. And I think that was Ricker coming across the line as well. P9 for him. So it's very tight there in the midfield. We've seen Skipsy just complete a lap as well. 17.1 puts him 8th. And I think that's MRPK. He's just crossed the line. Don't think he improved. Micken, maybe. Did he improve? I missed where he was to begin with, but it's an all-Haas second row at the moment. And Ben's invalidated. I think that is it for qualifying. And I'm pretty sure everyone out there has finished. The only driver that hasn't officially finished is Ben, and he's about to pull off into the pits. And that is, yeah, that's a wrap for qualifying. First session back after the mid-season break. And yeah, it was a hectic session, wasn't it? We managed to catch about 10 or 11 minutes of it, and certainly did not disappoint. And yeah, the threat of rain for the race makes it even more exciting. And who could potentially be... So Backer, only 6th on the grid. Maybe a bit of a compromise on setup. That's something we've got to factor in. If it is predicted to be a wet race, they may have just put a bit of a downforce, increased downforce on, raised the car slightly, maybe softened things up a little bit as well, just to give it a little bit more of a platform and yeah, not too twitchy in wet conditions. But that is very much it for qualifying, as we will now get the classified results and we'll run through them once again. Now it's all calmed down. Fleddy takes pole once again. I'm pretty sure that's his second race in a row. I don't know what he managed to pick up in whatever the race before was. I think it was Zandvoort, his first race. So yeah, Fleddy on pole, MRPK, Ben and Micken make an all-Haas second row. That's a big improvement from F1 for them. And Giraffe, Backer, Crankybot, Skipsy, Ricker, Christian Hasse round out your top 10. And to complete the order, it would be the entity. Phil got himself up there in the end. Multi, Ender, Nicker, and Schnitzy is your grid order. And 16 of them will take to the grid very shortly to lock in their starting setups in terms of obviously the fuel and the tyres for anyone who's not managed to qualify in the top 10. If it is a wet start, of course, they will take brand new tyres, all of them. So that maybe is why we saw everyone qualifying on the softs and no one choosing to stick with qualifying on the mediums. It is indeed a wet race start. As you can see, rain coming down in the pit lane, and we just wait for all the drivers to get into their cars on the grid, and we'll be underway very shortly indeed. So yeah, as we've mentioned, of course, once again, we'll keep reminding you, brand new circuit to RLH, and of course recently new to the F1 game, so absolutely no precedent within the league for any sort of race strategy, and it's gone out of the window anyway with the weather. So it's a big leap into the unknown, and hopefully for us that gives us quite a thrilling race and plenty of action to bring you. And just a few seconds now, and we will see cars on the grid ready for the formation lap. Fleddy leads you away then. The Ferrari getting underway onto the formation lap. They are actually, he's on soft tyres. That's interesting. Yeah, everyone's running slicks. So despite the fact it looks pretty wet out there, and certainly in any sort of real world scenario, that would be guaranteed into conditions. We have the top 11 starting on softs, so I can only assume that the entity is on a brand new set of softs, and the top 10 all on their tyres from qualifying. And then, yeah, Phil, Multi, Ender, Nicker and Schnitzy will have some work to do to get some temperature into those medium tyres in these damp conditions. But, yeah, not entirely sure of what the forecast said myself, but interesting that no one down the back decided to gamble on starting on a set of inters. It does tend to be quite stubborn though. If it sets you to slicks, it's usually obviously the best option. There are some bizarre weather characteristics within this F1 2021 game. It has been for some years now in terms of exactly when the slicks work and when they don't. But at the moment, Fleddy's got just a couple more corners to get that final bit of temperature into the tyres and brakes. This is going to be very tricky at the start of this race. Anyone not using traction control at all is going to find the initial launch very difficult. So we might have a bit of a mixed up start, and yeah, maybe different closing speeds and entry speeds into what we've already said is a very high speed relatively for turn 1, very high speed corner, and a very, very shallow apex. So they're all going to be fighting over the same bit of tarmac, and there's a nice big sausage curb right on the inside for anyone that doesn't quite make it. And yeah, they can go flying over that just to add to the drama. But at the moment, as you can see, everyone waiting till the last minute to pull over into their right-hand starting bays. And as you can see, it is, I believe, Phil and Ender pulling in at the back of the pack. We've got 16 cars on the grid. Are we going to see some lights very soon? I hope so. And we will get underway with the RLH Portuguese Grand Prix for Category 2. Lights coming on. We've got 4 of them, 5. They'll go out. And once again, after the break, we are racing. Ender picks up a drive-through already for a jump start. So he's had a terrible getaway there. And yeah, maybe had to check up as well because he's right at the back of the field. MRPK, though, takes the lead from Fleddy, who runs a little bit wide. Doesn't want to be picking up too many warnings at this stage. Backer, your championship leader, he's already out of the race. He's had contact at turn 1. Looks like Nick has been involved as well. I wonder if Backer's spun. They were some way away from each other on the grid. I think Nicker was down in 15th. Backer started 6th. So yeah, they've met in the middle somewhere. But yellows at the moment, no sign of a safety car. Drivers continuing on in these treacherous conditions. But yeah, as it stands, Bakker very much out of this race. The only man not to make it through the first couple of corners is your championship leader. We said we'll get drama. We've got it on lap 1. We've got it on turn 1. And MRPK leads us away into the middle part of this first lap. Fleddy, your pole sitter, down 1. Ben and, I was about to say, Micken has maintained the 3rd and 4th spot, as Nick has gone for a spin as well by the looks of it. But look at that, Giraffe coming around the outside, a little bit of contact. Micken struggling in these conditions at the moment, but he's got it back. And wait a minute, he's got... I think Micken's been miles off the track somewhere as a result of that contact, because he's picked up a 10-second penalty for cutting the track. It's a bit of a bizarre one, but yeah, he's struggling. Look, you can't get the throttle down. It's so tricky in these conditions. It's, as you can see, rain's still falling. It's very much not dry conditions, but it seems that that's the tyre they're being given at the moment. We've got Ender pitting, maybe some damage for him as well. Actually, no, he's serving his drive-through straight away. Getting that one out the way nice and early. Back to the front, MRPK miles off the track as we join him once again. And Micken's got another penalty for cutting the track, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on. He's seems to be really struggling, and he's just got no grip. He's got absolutely no grip in that Haas. So I wonder if anyone's going to risk a set of inters. Nick is in for a front wing and another set of mediums, so they're not giving him the inters. Ender's come out from his drive-through, of course, as well. But back to the front, look at this. MRPK, 2-second lead at the moment, so he's finding some grip out there. And driving away from the field. Fleddy can't stick with him. Your pole sitter cannot maintain the pace of the Red Bull ahead of him. And Ben maintaining P3. Giraffe, let's have a look at who's the big winners and losers off the line. And hopefully I can find where this is, because it always catches me out. We will get there in the end. There it is. And we've got yellow flags. That's Schnitzy, is it? Yeah, it is. He's had a little bit of a spin. Doesn't look like any damage, so he should be able to continue. And yeah, MRPK leads us into lap 3. Giraffe sets the fastest lap of the race. He's up 1 position from his starting place. Cranky up 2. Skipsy up 2. Ricker also. Phil, look at that. Incredible. On those medium tyres, he's got them working up 4. He's managed to avoid all the drama so far. Christian Hasser runs a little bit wide. He's up 1 position. Multi finding his way through. He's also on those medium tyres, up 3 positions. The entity back where he started. We saw him have a little bit of an off, I think, earlier on. Schnitzy, despite his spin, has gained 4 places from his back of the grid starting slot. Christian Hasser has spun through turn 4. We just saw him. Unfortunately, he's now down a position. Ender is... and we've got a safety car by the looks of things. Virtual safety car. We lost Cranky as well. We've lost Cranky in, in the middle sector. So he's dropped it there. I wonder if there was contact with another car. It's a long way out of the corner to drop it there. But Ender as well, we've lost him sort of in the pit lane entry. So he's really been struggling out there. But now, of course, they'll lose tyre temperature even more with this virtual safety car. In fact, its full safety car has been deployed now. So we have gone to the full safety car as a result of, I think it was Ender crashed first and the VSC was called. And then we've lost Cranky, maybe as a result of cars slowing down. I don't want to say too much, but maybe cars slowing down for the VSC caught Cranky out. We'll, I'm sure we'll see it here pretty soon. Yeah, 3 cars down. Unfortunately, just 13 remain here on lap 3, and we've got MRPK. A little bit of a cheeky move, making it look like he was going to pit, but continues on into another lap. And we'll just get the tyres back on, because this is going to be crucial as they try different strategies. And Ricker is into the pits. He's the only man to pit, and he's going to put on a set of mediums. So it looks like, as we had obviously recently this weekend with the Turkish Grand Prix, as it was in 2020 as well, being a bizarre race where sort of almost no tyre works. It seems we've got that, but the other way around with them running on the slicks here in the damp conditions. MRPK, though, is very much leading this race behind the safety car, so his race lead of what was a couple of seconds is now wiped out. Fleddy very much back on his gearbox. The Ferrari looking to regain that position that he lost off the start. And yeah, Ben still doing a very good job in P3, looking to pick up some solid points. Very long way to go. Schnitzy's been in as well, so both Mercedes have been in for new mediums. This gives Nicker a lifeline, of course. He is going to be able to join the back of the pack once more. We've seen quite a few driver of the day performances from this guy in McLaren recently. So yeah, here's his chance for another one. He's got some work to do from the back of the field. How many positions can he make up in the remainder of this race? Incredibly, we're only on lap 4. This weather proving very difficult, and unfortunately it has cost us 3 drivers already. And yeah, pretty much even split now of the medium tyres and the soft tyres. So that'll be interesting to see how they come in after the restart. And yeah, just check in on the comments. Hello to everyone watching. We'll try and get you some green flag action very soon. Into lap 5 we go as Micken pits. What's he going to put on the Haas? He may actually serve his penalty, does he? No, they're going to work on the car and medium's going on. And back out onto the track he goes. Should just get ahead of Schnitzy. Should maintain that position ahead of the Mercedes. It's going to be pretty tight, but yeah, just about got there. And yes, Nicker, as you can see, is now onto the start-finish straight as well. Hopefully he'll be able to rejoin the back of the pack before the safety car comes in. He should do, especially as they all sort of bunch up when the safety car announces it's returning to the pits. Hopefully they can all stay out of each other's gearbox and avoid any unnecessary penalties. But yeah, Nicker will, in theory, get to the back of the pack just in time for the restart with some nice temperature in those medium tyres. Backer on the stream, well, that was fun. Yeah, unfortunately, not sure what happened. As we've said, Nicker was seemingly involved in it as well. I think we might just about have another comment creeping through. Micken apparently turned in. Backer was caught in that, and I think I'm going to assume that Nicker was collected as a bit of an innocent party in that. Calais with some very helpful advice as always. I'm very sure that he is aware of that, and yeah, let's have a look at that. At the moment, Giraffe is sitting pretty in 4th place, and he is, what's that, 36 points, if my very quick and distracted maths is not going to embarrass me. I think he's 36 points behind Backer before this race, so big opportunity for him. Yeah, confirmation Nicker was the one that was collected by the spinning Backer. So yeah, Spa next week, I believe, is it? Well, no, Hungary next week, sorry, isn't it? Yeah, forget my own calendar. Yeah, Hungary next week, so well, I've said that, Hungary and Spa both sort of have the possibility to throw up a wet race as well, so it's not going to get too much easier anytime soon. And then we're on to the likes of, yeah, hopefully Imola, as we've mentioned, and then Japan, Brazil, who knows with the weather in those 2 tracks. Saudi Arabia, you would assume, will be dry. And look at the effort MRPK is going to keep some temperature in those soft tyres. No sign of sort of rain stopping or the standing water increasing. It looks like it's just one of those almost glitchy races where just it's going to rain for the duration, but you never need wet tyres. I think we're probably going to see the safety car in this lap, which would be welcome as we come through the final sector. Yeah, safety car in this lap indeed, and MRPK takes over the pace at the head of the pack. Safety car allowed time to return to the pit lane. Now hopefully everyone can give each other space. It's very tricky conditions, no point in being glued to the back of someone. They could very easily lose it through this final corner, and you'd have no chance to avoid them. And as we've said, yeah, no point whatsoever in picking up a silly penalty at this stage. Why have we got Fleddy leading this race, I wonder? What on earth is going on? That doesn't look too good at all, does it? But yeah, that's hopefully not going to cause too much confusion on the restart. Fleddy has a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags, and I get the reason that's why, because MRPK has left the session. So unfortunately for Fleddy, he's picked up a penalty through absolutely no fault of his own. And we've got a spinning car. That's one of the Astons, I believe. It's the entity, yeah. Nicker has managed to avoid it this time, by the looks of things, and is pressuring the back of Schnitzy to try and make a move on the Mercedes very early on. And we've got comments coming through. Don't think it's Mick and fault. What I could see, he was already driving on the curb. Okay, so yeah, maybe a little bit of contention around that first corner incident. But at the moment, we've got a race to concentrate on, and we've very much got Fleddy leading away at the moment from a Red Bull that I think is a bit of a ghost car at the moment. Ben in P3, as he has been for, I think, the entire race. Giraffe sticking in that P4 despite a bit of chaos at turn 1. Skipsy and Phil still looking sitting pretty, isn't he? Just ahead of Multi as well, and Ricker has joined that strategy of the mediums as well by pitting under the safety car. So those mediums potentially going to help them out, and maybe just starting to look a little bit drier. Is that rain easing slightly? That certainly looks like there's less standing water on the track. So if that is the case, these guys on the mediums will of course be able to go longer, as we've got MRPK. Oh, we've lost Ben. What on earth has happened here? Oh, we've got Nick around as well, and in the middle of the track. And we've got cars in the middle of the start-finish straight, which is never a good thing. And in fact, we've lost Christian Hatter as well. We've lost half the field. What on earth has happened coming out of the final corner? Schnitzy is going to sneak into the pits. And we have another safety car, unfortunately. Giraffe now up to P2. So, lap 8, and yeah, that rain seems to have completely stopped now. Actually, Fleddy into the pits, and what on earth is that debris? We've got 1, 2, 3 wheels in the pit lane. One of them actually makes contact with Fleddy. Fleddy serving a penalty. That was for the overtaking under yellow flags, which wasn't really an overtake under yellow flag. So we've got 10 cars remaining. He comes out just ahead of, in fact, a long way ahead of Schnitzy. Comes out just behind Skipsy, who also pitted. So Skipsy's come in, put another set of mediums on. I think, no, he was running the softs before, wasn't he? Yeah, just ahead of Phil, who's on the mediums. So, yeah, Skipsy, as a result of Fleddy's penalty, gains a position there. Nicker, as we've said, avoiding it all. Even well, he didn't avoid it all at turn 1 on the opening lap, but he's avoided it all since. And then has found himself in P7. just behind the Entity and Micken. And Ricker, having pitted earlier under the first safety car, finds himself now in P4. And Giraffe, having seen Fleddy pit ahead of him, is now leading the race. Just get the stream back so we can keep up with all your much appreciated comments. Yeah, tyres just rolling around in the pits. Yeah, unfortunately, it's a bit of a hazard. So at the moment, what have we got? We've got 5 different teams in the top 5 as a result of, yeah, a lot of chaos in the opening 10 laps. And Schnitzy will rejoin the back of the pack. So we've still got 2 Mercedes. He picks up a time penalty, actually, which was a little bit unnecessary. We've still got 2 Mercedes. We've still got 2 McLarens. Still got 2 Astons. That's it, I think. Pretty sure that is... yeah, we've lost one of the Alpines. We've lost one of the Haas. We've lost both Red Bulls. The only Williams. And we've lost the other Ferrari. So, Giraffe then, second in the championship, he's, yeah, all of a sudden found himself in an incredible position up the front. Does have the soft tyres on that he started the race on, so he's not going to go too much further into this race, although they've not done too much mileage flat out, of course. We've had quite a few safety car laps in this opening 10 laps, and we've also had, of course, a little bit of rain that obviously they've not been travelling at full speed on them. But yeah, Phil looking very good actually. Monty as well. Not entirely sure where either of them sit in the standings at the moment. I think they've both had pretty difficult seasons. Yeah, Phil 15th, Monty 17th on 46 and 35 points respectively. And neither of them have managed to get on the podium just yet in the opening half of the season. Can they start the second half in the perfect way? They're there at the moment. But there's a long way to go. Into lap 11, Giraffe leads us across the line. Multi is very close to Phil, who feels the need to go defensive. Might see a move at the back as well there with Ricker and Micken, but not quite. Phil just runs a little bit wide. Hopefully no warning there, and hopefully we can all get through the first couple of corners without incident. Nicker is maintaining his P7 at the moment. Skipsy and Fleddy, though, are on new tyres and will be hoping to make their way back through the order. Skipsy getting that position back straight away, and look at the Mercedes there of Schnitzy trying to go all the way around the outside, doesn't manage to pull that one off just yet. Ricker, though, is already ahead of Multi, who has his nose chopped off into the right-hander there then. Yeah, Ricker on slightly fresher tyres, using them to full advantage to take over P3 as it stands. Giraffe, though, already pulling a 1.2 second gap to Phil, so those soft tyres are helping him pull away from the DRS zone at the moment. When we finally get to have a DRS, we're trying to find Fleddy here, who I think is having a bit of trouble keeping Schnitzy behind him, who's yeah, taking some unorthodox lines, but hoping to complete the move for P9. And trying to go all the way around the outside of the final corner, and Fleddy is in the pits. Why would that be? Just one lap after pitting for soft tyres. We've even got a bollard in the pits, so yeah, bit of a mess down there. What have we got going on? It's mediums. Why would that be? Ah, front wing change. Strange. We didn't see any. We weren't being shown any damage, I'm pretty certain. But yeah, Fleddy in the pits, mediums on, and maybe going to try to go to the end on those as well. Giraffe, though, still out there on his softs that he started the race on. Only the 2 Astons are out there on soft tyres that started this race, and at the moment he's using them very well actually. He's 1.8 seconds clear of Phil, and who actually has Ricker for company now, and Multi is sticking with him as well then, so he may have lost that position early on the restart, but sticking with the Mercedes, and we'll be hoping to make an impression on Phil, who has exactly the same age of tyres. Both of those started on the mediums, of course, and have found their way to the front through a combination of safety cars and unfortunate retirements ahead of them. And DRS is finally enabled. I think that's the first time we've seen it in this race, and we're on lap 13. So, yeah, Multi will be getting that next time around if he stays where he is, as will Ricker. Phil might be under a little bit of pressure come the next couple of corners, because we've got a DRS zone down the back straight here, and they're very much within range to make an overtake. We might see something from Skipsy as well. He's trying to line up, and we've got another safety car, and I have no idea why. Why have we got a safety car? I can't see anything. Fleddy's sort of going around by himself. If anyone would like to suggest to me why we have a safety car, it would be much appreciated. What have I missed? Nothing in the top 5, there as they were. The Entity and Skipsy were racing for P6 and 7, they're both still there. Nicker still where he was. Schnitzy was by himself, and Fleddy had just come out of the pits back in P10. So, if anyone came to watch some safety car laps, you're getting your money's worth. And Giraffe uses this opportunity perfectly to come into the pits, and Ricker uses the third safety car to make his second safety car pit stop of the evening. Phil and Multi continue on. Interesting. Maybe Phil needs a bathroom break. Maybe. I've known him take breaks for other sort of things in the bathroom, but at the moment he's going to lead under the safety car, so no time to be getting out of the car as it stands. What on earth am I talking about? So Phil and Multi are now 1 and 2, having not pitted. They're the only 2 cars running, I believe, to have not pitted. Indeed, yeah, you can see that. They're both on medium tyres that started the race. Micken's got 20 seconds of penalty, Schnitzy's got 16, so they're in a bit of a race of their own to see who can get the most. We'll just go back to that, and what on earth was I just going to look at? It was going to be position change, yeah, so both up 11 actually, so they started a line astern and they maintain that at the moment. Hard tyres gone on for Ricker and Micken in 5th and 6th place, so they're certainly playing the long game. I would have thought maybe the mediums would have done half distance, but maybe they know better than me. I have never driven this circuit, as far as I'm aware. So that's what they've gone for. And the Entity is pitted, as has the Giraffe. As has Giraffe. So both Astons have put new mediums on. Skipsy's continued on 4-lap old mediums, and the 3 at the back at the moment, Nicker, Fleddy and Schnitzy, all on mediums that have done a lap or 2. Schnitzy's ended up behind Fleddy somehow, so has he been off the track behind the safety car? Who knows? They're both about to catch the pack. They're on the start-finish straight, so we'll do that, no problem at all. And into lap 15. Probably the slowest race ever in RLH. We had a wet start. We've had 3 safety cars in 14 laps we've completed. We're into lap 15. I wonder if Phil's banking on a 4th safety car to make his what would be his only pit stop of the racing. Maybe these mediums have done 14 laps. Probably still got quite a bit of life in them. Not entirely sure how many green flag laps we've had. It doesn't feel like a lot. Hopefully we'll get it in this lap. And hopefully don't see it for quite a while again, if at all, this evening. Phil doing his best to keep some temperature in those tyres. And we'll see very shortly, is the safety car going to be in? It is. We're going to finally get racing again. So we did just see the DRS for half a lap, I think. So it's made an appearance, and Phil is about to get us back underway. This time he is right at the head of the pack with Multi just behind him. They're both a position higher than they were on the last restart, with Giraffe having pitted for those new mediums. Once again, hopefully everyone can give each other space. There's only 10 of them out there, so it should be fairly easy to achieve. And we'll get no more additional penalties, and we'll get back underway. Phil, once again, he's definitely one of the better restarters. And yeah, gets us underway, and actually has a decent gap to Multi as he crosses the line as well. In fact, Skipsy could be maybe looking to make a move at Multi. Not quite close enough. Although Multi just gets a little bit of a wobble and runs a little bit wide. Skipsy's going to be closing in on him. Much fresher tyres, only done 6 laps to 15 on the Alpine, so he's going to be a little bit less grip than the Alpha behind him. And Giraffe, of course, on brand new tyres, will be looking to make progress. And Skipsy's gone up the inside. Can he make that one stick? It's going to be very tight on the exit. We're going to go side by side through the left-hander, absolutely flat out. Skipsy should have the inside from there and should get the move done, but Multi sticking it out around the outside, doesn't want to give it up. And can he keep it? No, he has to give way in the end. Skipsy is now up into second place, but all that battling has just given Phil a bit of a breather up the front, and Giraffe wanting to stay patient with those fresh mediums on. He's got a tyre advantage, big tyre advantage over at least 2 of the 3 cars ahead of him, but he has Ricker behind him, who is not always the most patient of drivers. He's certainly flat out or nothing else in that Mercedes. And as they come round to start another lap, he actually just dropped a little bit off the back of Giraffe, who's got a good run at the back of the Alpine, and in the slipstream now. Doesn't seem to be closing too quickly though, so we've lost Schnitzy at the back of the pack. As Fleddy, I think he's going to make a move on Nicker into turn 1, and should get that one completed. And yeah, equal tyres on that one, but Fleddy, he was your pole sitter, of course, in dry conditions, so you'd expect him to gain a little bit of pace now. And where are we going back to? We're going to go back to Giraffe as he tries to make his way back to the head of the field and can't quite make any impression on Multi just yet. But, Skipsy now closing in on Phil, having cleared Multi. Those slightly fresher mediums are doing him a favour and catching the McLaren that's up the top of the pack. So at the moment, with Schnitzy not in the session, we've got McLaren at both ends of the field, and yeah, Multi not dropping too far off the back of Skipsy actually. We'll see DRS next time around, or we'll see it enabled next time around. We'll see it in a couple of laps down the main straight, providing we can get there under green flag conditions. Just dropping back a little bit, and Giraffe may actually have a good run through this final corner now, and should be able to get in the slipstream of Multi. But once again, that Alpine looks very good in a straight line. Skipsy sets the fastest lap of the race. Multi is being dragged along nicely. Fleddy now sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:19.7. He's not out of this for the win yet either. Down in 8th place at the moment. He's had quite an adventure, but very much still in with a chance, as Micken, I think, maybe takes over the lead of the penalty race with another 3 seconds added to his time. And Skipsy now lining Phil up to perhaps have a look at the lead of the race. Look at that, we've got Giraffe up the inside and Multi behind. Skipsy just going to get run out of room there. That might even give Giraffe a run at P2. But look at this, we've got barely a second covering the top 4 or 5 cars at the moment. And Ricker looking to put a move on Multi as well. So those very old mediums are just starting to drop off. Giraffe now, though, has a look at the back of Skipsy. He's right on the back of him. Phil is holding, he's got the cork in the bottle at the moment on the 17-lap old mediums. When is he going to have to pit? How long can he hold on with these cars behind him? Giraffe is, he's been patient so far, but it comes a point where he's got to go for it. He's got the DRS this time around. Skipsy will have it also. I think Phil, if he doesn't pit, is probably going to be a bit of a sitting duck on the main straight here. The DRS should be open as we come across the top of the hill. And it is now, yeah, you can see, and Skipsy is coming down the main straight, pulls to the inside, and we've got a safety car. Why? Why is this happening? Oh, Phil actually looks like he's maintained the lead throughout all that. It looks like we're dealing with a glitch, doesn't it? One sort of rogue safety car you can put down to maybe a car off the track at the wrong moment, but yeah, if it's happened twice, it looks like we're dealing with a glitch, which has never happened in the history of Codemasters making an F1 game. Never. There's not one record of a glitch, but it's all right because there's a white Red Bull coming this week, so it's all fine. 19 laps about to be completed. You would imagine we're probably going to see Phil into the pits, Multi as well, you would also think. Are they going to manage to put the softs on and go to the end? They have to put something other than the mediums on, which would probably be the ideal tyre to go onto right now, but they have not run a different compound, and despite the fact it was wet at the start, they didn't run the inters, so yeah, they have to run two types of dry tyre. Phil, I think, he's going to pull off into the pit lane. He's going to pull off in the pit lane, and yeah, we'll see in just a moment. There's a soft tyre there, have that one if you want. As he's about to pull into his garage, I think, yep, they're red marked tyres waiting for him. He's got his teammate Nicker in behind as well, so hopefully the McLaren boys can get that turn around pretty quickly. And Phil is on his way. Soft tyres are going to be yeah, pretty rapid towards the end of this race. And yeah, there's going to be 4 cars down the back, all on them. Fleddy being one of them. So he was the pole sitter. He's been down the back for most of this race, but we know he's got some pretty decent pace. Ricker picks up a penalty for a contact from behind with Micken. He's not expected to pit again, so if that is deemed to be not his fault, then that will most likely be removed. If it's served in the pit lane, of course, it cannot be removed. But yeah, hopefully for Ricker's sake we can take a look at that after the race. But at the moment, Skipsy now leads as a result of Phil pitting. And with this safety car, you have to say 10 laps is probably going to be okay. It's going to be marginal, but you'd think he'd probably get to the end. There had been a lot of safety car laps on them. And what did Phil do? 19 laps on them? 19 laps, yeah. So what have we got? About another 13 on top of that. A lot of them being safety car laps. Maybe Skipsy can make it to the end. I would imagine Giraffe can. Ricker and Micken definitely can on those hard tyres. And safety car is immediately in this lap. So Nicker is just going to get a chance to plug himself onto the back of the pack, I believe. And oh, there's contact up the front there as well, I think. Yep, contact between Giraffe and Skipsy, and damage on the Aston. So front wing damage, I'm sure. Giraffe's going to have to be in the pits. He is. Giraffe pits, Micken as well, and we've got a race going on here. Skipsy goes across the line. Ricker, penalties everywhere at the moment, so unfortunately we're going to spend some time picking those, picking the pieces out of those, as Ricker sideways with contact with the entity, and hopefully everyone managed to avoid that as he was spinning back across the track. And look at that, look at Phil already up into P3 with cars pitting and cars spinning through turn 1. Phil's already up to P3, Fleddy and Multi 5th and 6th. It's yeah, chaos here is the only way to describe it, as Multi looking at the back of Fleddy, trying to get him back into the left-hand hairpin of, I believe, turn 5. But yeah, nothing coming from that, and we've got a Mercedes in there that doesn't have a car, doesn't have a driver by the looks of things. So Schnitzy is very much in the way of proceedings, as Fleddy and Multi trying to come through the pack. But yeah, unfortunately, all the sort of logic, sense, yeah, anything, any sort of reason has been left behind in this race, and we have, yeah, anyone's guess for what's going to happen in the remaining 12 or 13 laps. Skipsy's going to come across the line with a 2.6 second advantage over the Entity, so he can take it easy on those tyres and try and nurse them to the end. Well, I say that, he's got 3 pretty angry soft tyre runners coming up behind as well, so he's not got all the time in the world. There's Rick at pits. I think there's probably some front wing damage on that Mercedes, so there's going to be soft tyres, I imagine, going on with a front wing change as well. In fact, penalty to be served, front wing change and a tyre change as Multi picks up a time penalty for multiple warnings. Not been too many of them. I suppose we've not really been under green flag conditions for much of this race, but he's going to get out. He's going to be behind Giraffe actually. Mediums went on actually, so that's interesting. He's put the mediums on, as did Micken. Skipsy though, back at the front, is enjoying some nice clear air. Phil has to clear the Entity before he can get that luxury. And he can't hang about either because he's got Fleddy and Multi, who, if Phil can't get the job done, I'm sure they'll have a go. So through the final sector now then, he'll be trying to line up the Entity. You've got pretty similar levels of ERS deployment remaining. So they'll come through the penultimate corner now. Phil trying to get the best run onto the start-finish straight as Nika is making up positions. That's ahead of the Rogue Mercedes, isn't it? So he's up into P6 once again, popping up in the sharp end of the points, and it's looking like a very good race for McLaren. DRS is enabled. They've not got it this time down the start-finish straight, but they will next time around. Fleddy sets the fastest lap of the race, an 18.4. Phil now all over the back of the Entity, needs to get this move done. Look, 2.4 seconds now the gap to Skipsy up the front. Phil, so much more grip on these soft tyres than the Entity on the mediums. They're not too old, these mediums, but they've just not got the ultimate grip of this red walled compound. Phil up the inside should be able to get that one done from there. And can Fleddy follow through? He can indeed. Giraffe now sets the fastest lap of the race. He'll be hoping for another safety car before the end and get himself back in the action. I wouldn't put it past this race. And yeah, we've still got 10 runners, which we've had for some time now. Hopefully that's not any sort of commentator's curse, as Micken picks up another penalty. So Skipsy's got a penalty, which I think was he was leading, wasn't it? So maybe removed. Will have to be looked at. Certainly will have to be reported and go through the steward's process. But at the moment, in terms of purely on the results screen, Phil will take this victory as it stands, and he'll be hoping to get ahead on track and put that beyond any sort of doubt. But at the moment, he's got Fleddy to deal with, who's going to have the DRS on him. So Fleddy managing to get through on the Entity at the same time as Phil has put him in a good position to take that with the DRS and moves up into P2 and manages to retake the racing line into turn 1 and sets off now after the Alfa Romeo up the front. So Skipsy now leads into lap 24. Fleddy, Phil, Multi, the Entity, Nika, Schnitzy I think is still out of the session, and then we've got Giraffe, Micken and Ricca all just crossing the line now, sort of detached from the main pack. But Fleddy now already got it down to 2.1, so gained a couple of tenths in sector 1. The soft tyres won't have an advantage for too long. It will sort of degrade as the laps go on, of course, as Giraffe picks up a penalty as well. Shouldn't affect his race result, I wouldn't have thought. And Fleddy now 1.9, so it's a couple of tenths per sector. Not quite as quick as I would have imagined, to be honest. So Skipsy doing a very good job out the front, and we've got a safety car. This is beyond ridiculous at this point, yeah. This will have to be investigated, I imagine, to see whether we actually take a result from it. But unfortunately, it is not proving too easy to get some racing laps in this evening. Are we going to see anyone pit for a final time? Anyone who's got a penalty, it would probably make sense to come in and serve it. Nika is rolling the dice. Schnitzy, I assume, must be back in the session unless his AI's pitting for him. He's still got a tyre and various other bits of debris making up the pit lane. And Nika is away and gone on a nice shiny set of the soft tyres. Does he get out ahead of Giraffe? That's going to be very close. I think he might just about do it. No, Giraffe does make it through before that safety car line. And yeah, we'll take P6 as it stands, and he's on pretty new tyres himself, so Nick, 4-lap old softs against brand new softs. I suppose he's got nothing really to lose. I think with penalties and the tyres of the entity ahead of him, he will probably not lose any positions. Maybe one at most, but he still has the chance of regaining that on track, of course. But yeah, unfortunately, it's been a bit of a disaster around here at Portimao this evening. Not been the sort of race we were hoping for. There's been plenty going on, but not always for the right reasons. As we've actually got both Mercedes down the back now. Skipsy still leads for another restart. Just looking at C3, it looks like they've got a wet race as well. They've started wet and they are now on the dries, I believe. And if anyone has any sort of vested interest in C3, you can, of course, A, pick up another device and watch it at the same time. Or B, I can tell you that Formula SB is leading, I believe, on his debut. Wolsey, who's always in and around the fight at the front, is currently second. Booty is third. Banter Brandon, I think, is another debutant in P4 for Ferrari. Adidas, Miranda, Alex K, Frenzy, Jappy, Pedro Silva, Maverick and Mighty Frax are your remaining runners. So that's, yeah, that's C3. As I said, you can either pick up another device and follow along, or you can watch it, of course, on the RLH YouTube channel following the conclusion of this race, which at this rate might well happen under the safety car. Lap 26 of 33. I'm sure plenty of the drivers will just want this to end round about now. And there's not too long to go. Skipsy has probably done a grand total of about 3 racing laps on these mediums. So I would imagine they're about 5% wet. And yeah, he's got some guys behind him who have done a few laps since the previous safety car on these soft tyres. Probably, I think, what, 3 racing laps? At a guess. Can we get to the end without another safety car? I'm betting no. And it's 8:10 as well, so it's been quite a long race. We'll see what the race time is at the end. I'm betting it's going to be into the 50 minutes. Can we top the hour? That's going to be interesting. Can we break the 1 hour barrier for an RLH race that has, despite being a little bit wet, has been run entirely on dry tyres? We're going to get going again. We've got more penalties. Skipsy leads us away, and Fleddy is going with him. So yeah, safety car wiped out that last remaining advantage that Skipsy had from whoever it was holding him up last time. Was it Giraffe Pitting held the pack up last time, didn't he? The entity picks up a penalty for corner cutting. Skipsy has got a decent getaway once again from the restart. He's managed to put about 7/10 yet behind between himself and Fleddy, and that's a little bit of on-track action between the two Astons. They have made contact before, and they don't let each other forget it. It's all pretty light-hearted, but they get away with it this time and maintain their 5th and 6th positions on track. At the moment, though, Micken is looking to change that, and he's plugged himself onto the back of the entity through the middle sector. But what's going on up the front? We've got Fleddy still not really making too much of an impression on the back of Skipsy. If anything, Multi actually is looking the racier of the 4 soft tyre runners actually, because Giraffe's cleared the entity. So yeah, P2, 3, 4 and 5 all on pretty much the same age of soft tyre. And round into, we're going to start lap 28, so we're getting there. Chances of another safety car gets slimmer by the lap, of course, and Phil's used all of his deployment before he got across the line, so that's allowed Multi to get a run at him, even without the DRS, and he takes P3 in the final podium position. As it stands, they're going to run side by side through turn 1, both giving each other just about enough space. Phil still trying to stick it around the outside, and Multi hangs on for now. Giraffe, though, is closing on to the back of this as well, and he will be hoping to pick up a few more points. As we've mentioned, his main championship rival, who wasn't really a championship rival before this race, he was sort of had broken away up the front. Backer is not scoring. He was the first retirement right at turn 1 on lap 1, so Giraffe looking to take full advantage of that, and has a couple more laps to gain some positions from his current P5. Still taking home solid points with that, of course, as the Entity has had a spin. No damage by the looks of things, but the number 25 Aston spins it back around, gets underway. And unfortunately for him, it's probably going to be P10 unless anyone else has any dramas, because he is now detached from the pack and has gone off again by the looks of things. So I think probably cooked the tyres with that earlier spin, and yeah, now needs a front wing to get back to the pits, and he'll be hoping for another safety car. Skipsy across the line into lap 29. We've seen the DRS for another lap. It's made one more appearance, as Fleddy still can't get near Skipsy, who's done 19 laps. As we've mentioned, not many of them have been racing laps, but he has done 19 laps of mileage on those medium tyres, and doing a very good job of it as it stands. And yeah, lap 29 of 33, so 5 to go, including this one. What can Fleddy manage, as the Entity unfortunately picks up a penalty for speeding in the pit lane as well. Phil still can't quite get back onto the tail of Multi. He's used quite a bit of energy as well. In fact, Giraffe at the moment looks best in that regard, and he may be about to nick a podium from the pair of them. With this, he's got 1 lap fresher tyres. Ricker, though, is motoring on. He's cleared that penalty from earlier on when he pitted. He's got brand new soft tyres, basically, and he is very much catching these this pack of 3, sort of 4 cars that are on softs ahead of him. Maybe Ricker could, at the way this race has gone, Ricker could very much still win this race. As Giraffe comes through the final couple of corners now, a little bit of a slide, but with the deployment he's got remaining, should be able to have a look at the back of Phil, and already, before they even get up the hill, he's on the back of the McLaren, and Phil's got DRS as well, so it's going to be very tight into turn 1. Giraffe using a little bit of energy as well. They make contact. Phil runs wide, maintains the position. I think that was a little bit of 50-50 there, really, neither of them giving too much room to each other, and both get away with it and continue on as they were. And I have no idea what language that is, but hello to you on the stream. Welcome. My knowledge of language doesn't go that far, I'm afraid. But Ricker now, Giraffe just going a little bit out of shape, and Ricker might be having a look at the back of the Aston Martin. At the moment, no one can seem to make a move. Fleddy is now within half a second just about of Skipsy. He's going to see some... wait a minute, what have we got going on here? Just the usual fan club of I think the Entity and Giraffe in the Aston team, of course. So yeah, the Aston fan club are out again. And yeah, lap 31 of 33, we're getting there. Fleddy is now really closing up, and Giraffe has, I think, made the move stick this time on Phil, and Phil's just struggling with energy now. He's used a lot of it early on in this phase, and Ricker as well, really running out of battery, and once it's gone, it's very difficult to get back at times. And Multi, as well, right down the bottom of the battery. But Skipsy now is under real pressure. This is starting to get close, and it looks like Fleddy is going to take over the lead of this race sooner rather than later. Skipsy might have just started to come into some issues with the tyres. These softs have done... Oh, as Phil picks up a penalty as well, so that's going to harm his result. Probably going to put Ricker ahead of him. So, yeah, that's unfortunate for him in the closing stages. But, yeah, as it stands, even though they've done 10 laps on the softs, they've been not too many racing laps, and he's still got quite an advantage over the mediums of Skipsy. And, yeah, 2 laps to go at the end of this one, and you get the feeling that he's got quite a lot of energy as well, using it already as they come through the final corner. He's got plenty in reserve, didn't need to use it to get close. The tyres got him close enough. The energy and the DRS surely is going to get him through, as he's going to pull to the inside of turn 1. Skipsy goes as defensive as he really could with that sort of closing speed, and couldn't do much about it, but does tuck back up the inside. Fleddy runs wide, and Skipsy retakes the lead, lives for another day, and he's only really got one more DRS opportunity. This straight here I don't think is long enough, and Skipsy's gone defensive very early, and just about leaves enough room on the entry. Fleddy still not quite managing to position his car in a way that can get the move done and make it stick. Skipsy is going to probably lead into the final lap. Whether he's got any sort of defence when he gets there remains to be seen. We've got Multi still on for his first podium of the season, certainly on track. We're not entirely sure what the situation is around the penalties at the moment. Giraffe and Ricca maybe just missing out. Phil's dropped back a little bit in P7 now, just ahead of his teammate Nika. So McLaren are going to pick up some points, but it doesn't look like it's going to be at the sharp end. Skipsy really struggling with traction there through the left-hander, and Fleddy's gone all the way around the outside. But now Skipsy's going to get the DRS, is he? As they come through the final corner for the penultimate time. I'm pretty sure Skipsy is going to get the DRS. Maybe a little bit of tactics there from the Alpha man. He's going to come down into turn 1. Can he swing it around the outside of Fleddy? We can't see what's happening, but Skipsy around the outside. I think he's got that move done. Yeah, Fleddy once again comes off second best through turn 1, and yeah, unfortunately for him, Skipsy pulled a bit of a blinder there, and yeah, got the DRS and managed to stick with it at the moment. Fleddy's going to throw everything at him as he goes around the outside of the hairpin. He's got better traction out of there. He's going to have the inside line as they come, well, through the kink he's not, but through the next right-hander he's going to have the inside line. Little bit of a brush with that sausage curve there, and he had to get out of it. And oh, big slide as well. Can Multi capitalise? What a final few laps we've had here. It's been marred with safety cars and all sorts of controversy, but the final few laps have not disappointed, and we still don't know who's going to win. Final sector, Skipsy leads on very old mediums. Fleddy in P2, Multi in P3. Who's going to win? Who's going to pick up the podium positions? We have no idea. Skipsy, though, is going to come through. There will be a bit of a question mark about that penalty for contact under the safety car. Multi picks up a penalty for track limits as well, but Skipsy wins on the track at least. We'll see what happens in the stewards room after. Fleddy and Ricca and Giraffe, so big turnaround in the final standings there. We'll try and bring you official results as soon as possible, but I think we are going to see some reports and some penalties all over the place, really, in terms of where drivers feel they may have been unfairly applied, or yeah, maybe even need to report and try and get penalties applied to other drivers as well. As there's going to be a big debrief following this race, I have no doubt about that. We're just waiting for the entity to finish. We didn't catch all the drivers going across the line because the leaderboard was rapidly changing, and yeah, the entity is going to come through. He's still going to pick up some points, of course. P10 is some solid points, with the system scoring down to P15. And yeah, that's it. What a bizarre race. The final few laps, as we've said, were incredible. Multi picks up driver of the day according to Codemasters, and I can't even remember what happened, so Multi's, yeah, fine. Multi's got driver of the day because so much has happened I wouldn't know where to start. That's an asterisk at third place with all the safety cars for Giraffe in my book. Not a top 3 driver. Yeah, the banter continues, and I'm sure those two will enjoy watching it back with all of that. And yeah, as we've said, as the rain comes down once again in Parc Fermé, where do you start picking the bones out of that race? Fleddy is your provisional race winner. Ricca P2, Giraffe P3, Skipsy, Multi, Phil, Nika, Micken, Schnitzy and the entity are your classified runners. Unfortunately, we lost Christian Hasser, MRPK, Ben, Crankybot, Ender and Backer quite early on in this race. I am out of breath. Thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, as we've said, there's other entertainment in the forms of C3 this evening. You can go back and watch that if you haven't kept up with the action. And we've got top tier racing on both PlayStation and PC tomorrow night. I believe both will be live on YouTube, so tune in for that. Both once again here in Portimao. Hopefully the safety car makes a few, not quite as many appearances as we've seen this evening. And then we've got, not forgetting the C4 boys, of course, Category 4 on Thursday, same time, 7 PM. As always, thank you very much for joining us, and yeah, come back later in the week. But for now, that's all from me, and yeah, good night.